I like working with the folks in my community, the same community where I found recovery, and being able to support them and being the same person that my peer was for me. I'll never forget the night they cold called me. It was like 7:30. It was wintertime. It was cold. And I was like, wow, who is calling me at this late? And we got talking. And I wasn't really interested in what they had to say until they said, oh, well, I'm also in recovery. I have lived experience. I was like, oh, this might be a little bit different. That really is what helped build a connection. There's no way you can understand addiction unless you've been through addiction. It really does just come back to the lived experience. Before I was a peer, I worked in healthcare and hospice and geriatric nursing for almost 20 years. I like people. I like to connect with people. But having that lived experience definitely makes it a little bit different. And you can, as opposed to a clinical relationship, you can kind of disclose back and forth. And I really think that helps build a trust. And you have to have trust to even do any of this work. Because if your peer doesn't trust you, you're not doing anything. I'm really kind of lucky and in a different situation. The clinical team that I work on is the clinical team that supported me in my recovery. I have been connected with these folks for over 8 years now in one capacity or another. They definitely respect the work I'm doing. Provider buy-in is like a really hard thing for peers, and it is so important. And when I'm talking with other peers in the recovery team, if we're having a team meeting there, I kind of feel bad sometimes because I do feel like I get more support in my hub than they do in theirs. We do have team meetings in the hub with clinical staff twice a week. I hop on and get first dibs to say what I need to say or get any information I need to get. And then I leave about 15 or 20 minutes into it because it's really important for me as a peer to get my information about my peers from my peers. Being a peer, you are asked to relive your trauma every day in the support of other people. I've done a lot of work on my own trauma and I'm in a good place in my life, but it is still heavy. It's emotionally exhausting sometimes, and people that do this job tend to be really empathetic and not have great boundaries, and I am one of them. I have a really hard time disconnecting and like turning my work phone off or not bringing my work phone on vacation has been an issue for me. The other aspects are kind of the other side of that, not having buy-in from the other providers, not so much within my hub, but like within the system itself, and not valuing the work we do. And then those who really value the work we do, but we're not compensated properly for it. My husband is a school teacher. I'm able to stay in this job. If I was a single person or single parent, there's no way I would be able to do this work. I have the most amazing manager and supervisor I have ever worked in my entire adult life, who make sure that we are getting time to self-care. And not just making sure, but like encouraging it. Some days you think, you're going to chug right along, and then you meet with a peer and a lot of stuff comes up, and it can be exhausting. And it can bring up a lot for you, and you just kind of need to disengage, and that is never an issue. We know peers provide value. Like there's research, we can look at that and see that. But when you come in within these smaller systems, like the Main Mom program, for instance, or with the individual hubs, and you can hear about people who, started a pregnancy, were actively using, and through meeting with a peer and having that support, like not only have they stopped using, but they're able to keep baby at the end when they deliver. They can go home. They can create these bonds where without that, a lot of times CPS steps in. It can be really hard, especially in those situations, to disclose to a clinical provider. It's a little bit easier with a peer. And it also just helps break down that stigma and bias. And flat out discrimination sometimes, really.